Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Craigz Horror House, the channel that talks everything horror, old and new. And in today's video I am going to be talking about some of my favourite horror movie sequels of all time. And when I mean sequels, I literally mean any sequel from a film series. For example, there are currently 6 Scream movies that I can choose from. There are currently around, I think, 9 Nightmare on Elm Street movies that I can choose from. They don't have to be a direct sequel from the original movie, is what I'm trying to say. Now, I have a feeling that some of my choices on this list are going to be a little bit controversial in the world of horror, so let's jump straight into it. At number 10, we have Saw 3. Now, I love the Saw movies. Some of them are better than others, but for me, my favourite Saw sequel has to be Saw 3. The kills in this movie are on another level, especially that one where the guy's limbs get twisted on the rack very slowly. Oh, so painful to watch. This scene with the pigs being juiced with all of their guts landed on top of a high court judge is super gross, but it's also super awesome. I liked the whole story arc with the guy having to face his traps with people who pretty much wronged him after the death of his little boy. Basically, he was majorly let down, and there were some pretty intense moments. This soundtrack in this movie is incredible, and of course, this is the final movie that, will heavily feature both John and Amanda. My only gripe in this movie is that they killed both of them off at the end. I mean, for me, that was just a little bit too much overkill. I think at least one of them should have survived. Creepshow 2 creeps in at my number 9 spot. And guys, if you are enjoying this video, then please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I recently covered a full horror movie review on Creepshow 2, so make sure you go and check that one out. But I have always preferred Creepshow 2 to Creepshow 1. Now, I know a lot of people won't agree with me on that one, but guys, it's my choice and my own opinion. The cheesiness is clawed back a lot more in this one, which is probably why I like it just that little bit more. This soundtrack is insane. It has that proper old school 80s vibe to it. I love the 3 stories with, the old wooden chief head and the lake and the hitchhiker. There are some really decent scares in this movie, like when some of the characters are eaten alive by that horrible slime monster in the lake, and of course the hitchhiker coming back over and over again and getting more mangled. It's just, it's amazing. It's so gross, it's also scary, and it's just highly entertaining. Wes Craven's New Nightmare comes in at number 8, and this won't be the only entry for good old Freddy Krueger. Once again, I have done a review on this movie on the channel, so I won't delve too much in this list on this one, but what I love about this movie is that it's really far ahead of its time. Heather Langenkamp, who played Nancy in, the earlier films, she is back, but she's not playing Nancy, at least not at first. She's actually playing herself as an actress living in a nice house with her son Dylan and husband Chase. And Wes Craven and Rob Shea, they want to make one more Freddy movie with Heather playing Nancy, but Heather isn't very keen. So Freddy, and a much more darker version of Freddy, decides to come into the real world, Heather's world, and Freddy has Dylan firmly in his sights, and the only way to stop Freddy is to make another movie. It's really clever. There are some classic Freddy moments where Freddy opens his mouth really wide and tries to eat Dylan, like literally swallow him whole, and then the moment where Freddy kills babysitter Julie in the hospital in the same way where he killed Tina in the original Nightmare. Halloween 2018 comes in at number 7. Now, I was really juggling with this one and between this one and Halloween Kills, because because, believe it or not, I loved Halloween Kills, despite, you know, a lot of people not really enjoying it. I thought it was great. However, I did have to choose Halloween 2018 just because it did stay true to the original. I can remember everybody just loved it at the time, and there are some really, really cool moments, like the scene where we follow Michael walking down Haddonfield and just walking into people's houses and just killing them. It's quite unnerving because it just has that little moment of realism that gets you thinking, shit, this stuff actually happens. There are also some really intense moments, particularly in the third act, where Laurie Strode, she's going through her house hunting Michael with a gun. I was literally watching these scenes with my fingers over my face for the first time. I also love the scene where Allison finds her friend impaled to a fence, and this is when Allison sees Michael Myers for the first time, and it's the realization that her grandmother wasn't crazy. She was telling the truth the whole time. This soundtrack is one of the best in this movie ever, and I love the end credits where they play the massive soundtrack Halloween Triumphant. Final Destination 3 comes in at number 6, and once again I had to juggle this one with Final Destination 2 because I do love that one as well, but I think for me Final Destination 3 is just the most entertaining. This is the one with the big roller coaster crash, which I just love. It's also the one with the sunbed kill with those two girls. In fact, there are some really, really cool and memorable death scenes in this movie. I find this one to be a lot more action-packed than the first two. Even towards the end where the train crashes, it just looks like that they spent a lot more money on this movie and they just went all out, and I am here for it. I really like the characters, even though the main character, Wendy, can be a little bit too intense throughout the movie at times, but it's a great sequel. I think it's the best one, and then it kind of goes downhill after this one, and I've probably rewatched this one probably the most out of all of the sequels. However, I am very excited for the upcoming Final Destination 6. At the halfway mark now, and it is Scream 4. Look, I don't understand why this movie gets so much hate. I absolutely love this film. I think this is honestly the best Scream sequel that blends in the characters with the original cast, you know, with like Sydney, Gale and Dewey, and blending it in with new characters. I don't know, I may get a lot of hate for this one, but I don't care. I flippin' love Scream 4. This movie also introduces one of my all-time favorite characters, and that is Kirby Reed. I flippin' love her, and I'm so glad that they brought her back for Scream 6. Now, the killer reveal in this movie of Jill Roberts is a classic, and in my opinion, she is definitely one of the most unhinged killers that we've had in the Scream world, with probably Mrs. Loomis riding right beside her. I just love how Jill ends up half killing herself to make it look like that she was attacked and left for dead. Even though Scream 4 is on today's list, I just have to say I love all of the Scream sequels. In fact, if I had to choose another one, I would definitely choose the newest one, Scream 6. Halloween 4 comes in at number 4, so we have another Halloween entry. I mean, there are like literally hundreds of Halloween sequels. But on a serious note, I can remember watching Halloween 4 when I was quite a young teenager, probably around about 12 to 13 when I first saw this. My family had it on VHS videotape, and just one day I put it on and I was very surprised at how amazing this sequel is. I think after the whole Halloween 3 season of The Witch fallout from audiences at that time, Michael Myers just had to return, and he had to return with a bang. In this movie, Michael is after Laurie Strode's daughter, Jamie, but Laurie has apparently been killed off screen, but never mind. Jamie has been adopted by a family in Haddonfield. Now Michael, he escapes as per usual, and he goes on a real rampage with some really fantastic kills and some proper jumpy moments. And what I love about this movie is they really utilized Michael's white face with him hiding in the shadows. It really worked well. In fact, there's a moment that really scared me where a police officer is guarding the front door and we actually see Michael's white mask in the distance already in this house. And it's just little moments like that that really makes this movie a very genuinely scary Halloween movie. I love all of the characters in this movie. Jamie and her adoptive sister Rachel, they are both fantastic. The movie also ends on a real big shocking cliffhanger that nobody sees coming. It's definitely one of the most strongest sequels in the Halloween universe. 28 Weeks Later is at number 3, and I was so excited to see this movie when it was first announced that it was being created. Now, I love 28 Days Later. It is my all-time favorite zombie movie, so when I finally got to see 28 Weeks Later, I just loved it, just as much as the original. One of the greatest things about these movies is definitely the soundtrack. It is off the scale epic, especially the song In the House in a Heartbeat. You will always hear this piece of music being used on TV shows, maybe even some other movies during the dramatic moments. The infected zombies in this movie continue to spread the virus and they are badder and ruthless than ever. The dramatic and intense moments are leveled up to 1,000, and the scene where the dad kisses his wife and he ends up getting infected, this causes him to literally kill his wife, who's currently strapped to a bed, and he starts eating her, and it's actually really disturbing. It's just a shame that we never got to see 28 months later, because the movie does indicate that the virus has now spread to other countries and different parts of the world. I don't know. Maybe we will get the third part to this movie one day. Who knows? At number 2, and we have Hostel Part 2. It's crazy that this movie was actually banned in some countries, but I can kind of understand why they did, because they did really go that much further with this entry. This movie follows the same story as the first one, but this time we follow 3 female friends who end up in the same hostel as the lads in the first film. Now, what this film does differently is that it follows also the killer's journey at the same time. Those rich people who bid on these victims, it's actually quite disturbing to watch. We see the different types of people who want to participate. They range from a lovely, cuddly grandfather waving to his grandchild to a horse-riding woman. It's so messed up, but this is what Hostel is all about. There are lots of intense moments, but a standout one for me is when character Lorna is hung upside down naked, and then this other woman uses this really sharp weapon to slice Lorna's body, literally all over, and she bathes in her blood. Oh my goodness, Lorna's screams are literally blood-curdling. You actually also see a penis being chopped off by the end of the movie, and yeah, I watched this movie with my mother when watching it for the first time. My number 1 spot is A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors. Now, some of you guys who have been subscribed to this channel, you might have guessed that this was going to be my number 1. I absolutely love the Nightmare films, but this is hands down my all-time favorite horror movie sequel ever. Freddy is at his best in this movie. The kills are just classics. It's all set in a mental hospital as well, so you get that feeling of authority, which I just love, mixed in with Freddy's horror. I don't even know where to begin with the kills. I mean, how about Jennifer being thrown headfirst into a TV with that classic line from Robert Englund, "Welcome to primetime, bitch." Or what about Philip's veins being ripped out of his body and Freddy using him as a human puppet? Of course, this is the one with that giant Freddy snake, which scared the crap out of me when I was a child. I mean, yes, I was a child watching this movie, which sounds very wrong now looking back, but it was brilliant. Freddy tries to eat Kristen as the big Freddy snake. And let's talk about the opening scene where Kristen is being chased by Freddy while holding a little girl, but then the little girl turns into a horrible, rotten corpse. There are some proper, real dark moments in the movie, which is what I love the most. Freddy is meant to be dark, and this is definitely definitely Freddy at one of his most darkest. I have lost count the amount of times that I've gone back and rewatched this movie. I never ever get bored of it. I honestly feel that they made something really special with this sequel, and it's never ever been done again in the history of horror movies. Which is why this film will always stand out and will always be at my #1 spot. Okay then guys, well that is the end of my top 10 horror sequels. Do you guys agree with some of the things on my list, or do you have a different horror sequel at your #1 spot? Whatever your opinions are, let me know everything guys in the comments box below. Okay then guys, well thank you all for watching today's video. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, stay safe out there, and I'll see you all again very soon.